Hi everyone, so this is going to be an example of what you'll do for your virtual field trip. Through the planning you should have created a folder, and in the folder you should have different place markers, right? And then under each place marker you may have different layers that you're using. I highly recommend including that because it's really simple to navigate using those. And then during your virtual field trip, again, you need to have 3 place markers, a layer at each place marker, and then use one of the tools, which are up here, and also the elevation tool, which you can see at the bottom of your screen. Wherever the hand goes, it tells you the elevation down low. When you create your tour, you're going to speak as if you're teaching a class. So if you have a video that you're going to show the class, just pretend like you watched the video, and you can still ask the questions about it, and that's fine. So I still want you to ask questions, go through the activity just as you would in class. Obviously no one's going to be answering your questions, but just pretend like you're kind of making the Blue's Clues video or something. You know how they ask a question and then wait for them to have time to respond, and then they basically answer the question. Anyway, I won't go through each of my place markers that I've created, but I'll go through one of them to kind of give you a sense of what I'm looking for. And you have to be aware of how long it is. It can only be 10 minutes long because we're going to upload this to YouTube. So anyway, here we go. Hi everyone. Today we're going to be learning about the Persian Wars. More specifically, we're going to learn about 4 significant places where the Persian Wars occurred. The Battle of Marathon, the Battle of Thermopylae, and then Athens, and then the Battle of Salamis. So let's start with the Battle of Marathon. This was actually the first battle that happened. So I'm going to double click this, and let's zoom in and find out where this battle really happened. So you'll notice that I've got a picture of a runner here. His name is Phidippides. And Phidippides is going to be really, really important in the Battle of Marathon, leading up to the Battle of Marathon and after the Battle of Marathon. So we'll talk about him in just a minute. So I'm going to click off there. Let's take a look at what the battlefields looked like. So here I have a panorama image. This is what the battlefield looks like. We can see here that it's right by the water, so it's kind of the beaches of Marathon where they fought. But if you've ever been to a beach, you'll notice that it's kind of open space. So the Persians decided to land right here, and they way outnumbered the Athenians, but the Athenians were waiting to fight them. Do you think this is a good or bad place for the Athenians to fight the Persians? I think that it's a pretty difficult place to fight the Persians, especially if you're outnumbered, because the Persians can surround you and attack you, and you're easier to defeat that way. So this brings us back to this picture of Phidippides, a runner. The Athenians knew that they were going to need some help. So here I created an image overlay. Remember, the Athenians are fighting the Persians over here. They knew that they were going to need backup. So if you needed someone to go to a street fight with you, who are you going to pick? Well, you're probably going to want the Spartans because they are mean. They are great fighters, and if anyone's going to beat the Persians, it's going to be the Spartans. So what Athens did is they wanted to go ask Sparta a question. So today, if we wanted to ask someone a question, how do we do that? We might email them, we might send them a letter, we might call them on the phone, but that technology hadn't been invented yet. So what Athens did is they sent their trusted runner, Phidippides, right here. So he ran all the way from Athens to Sparta. How far do you think that is? Let's try to find out. So I'm going to pick our ruler, and let's try to follow his path. Now we are only going to do straight lines, so he's actually going to run further than this. And remember that there's lots of mountains here. We can see that. So he's up and down terrain. But let's try to measure this as much as we can. So this is about 10 miles. Okay, let's go in another straight line here. That's about 32 miles. So now we're up to 42. Let's go down here. That's 33. So 42 plus 33 is 75. And then let's go down. Let's clear that one. And then let's go down from here to there. So that's about 40. So he ran well over 100 miles. And he ran all the way to Sparta and said, "Hey, Sparta, please help us. Please help us." And then Sparta said, not interested. And so Phidippides had to run all the way back. In total, he ran about 300 miles, if you can imagine that. And he did it in just a few days. So then they fought in the Battle of Marathon. Well, Phidippides was there. And the Athenians miraculously beat the Persians in the Battle of Marathon. And so they were worried that the Persians were going to sail around here and attack Athens from over here. So what they did is they had to warn the Athenians. So they said, "Hey, Phidippides, why don't you run back to Athens and tell them that we won?" So I actually created a place marker kind of where Athens is. And let's measure the distance between these two. To do that, I'm going to zoom in a little closer. And then let's measure that again using our, oops, that's a path tool, using our ruler. So I'm going to click here and here. Now again, this is a straight line, but we see that this is about 19 miles. In reality, it was about 26 miles that he ran because he couldn't have run in a straight line. So does that number sound familiar? Running 26 miles? Maybe a little more than 26 miles? Well, that's actually about the distance of a modern day marathon. Hey, look at that, a marathon. So when you hear people ran a marathon, what they're doing is they're running the same distance that Phidippides ran from the battlefields in Marathon to Athens to warn them that the Persians were coming. According to legend, he ran to Athens, said, "We won!" and then he dropped dead. So if you've ever talked to anyone that's run a marathon, you'll know that they feel like they're going to die at the end of the marathon. And I've heard a joke once where some marathon runners were running, and one of them said, "Man, I wish Phidippides would have died at mile 17. So maybe that's not a very funny joke, but we see that they're basically recreating what Phidippides did in his run. Okay, so we're going to go to 3 others. So if you're watching this, hopefully you get a sense that I'm teaching about it. I'm going through asking questions as if I were in class. Now, I'm already about 9 minutes, so I'm going in more detail than you need to go to in each of your spots. You only have 10 minutes. So you have 3 spots to cover in 10 minutes. You'll also notice that I had a video in my place marker. So if I were to ask them questions about the video, that would be fine. I could do that. But for sake of time, I didn't here. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks.